The idea that fasting attracts God is rooted in various religious and spiritual beliefs. Different cultures and religions have incorporated fasting as a practice to demonstrate devotion, discipline, and self-control. Here are two things that are often emphasized as things to avoid during a fast in many religious traditions: impure thoughts and actions. Fasting is not just about abstaining from food, it often includes refraining from negative thoughts and actions. Many religious traditions emphasize the importance of maintaining a pure and focused mind during fasting. Engaging in impure thoughts or harmful behaviors might be seen as counterproductive to the spiritual goals of the fast. The aim is to use the fast as a time for introspection, self-improvement, and spiritual growth. Deception and hypocrisy. Fasting is considered a deeply personal and sincere act of devotion. Engaging in deceptive practices or hypocrisy during a fast is often discouraged. This could include pretending to fast in front of others while secretly indulging, or using the fast as a means to gain approval or recognition rather than seeking genuine spiritual connection. Many religious teachings emphasize the importance of authenticity and sincerity in one's spiritual practices. It's important to note that the specifics of fasting practices and the associated taboos can vary widely among different religions and cultures. These 2 points are just general concepts that may be relevant in multiple contexts. Individuals observing fasts are encouraged to adhere to the guidelines provided by their specific religious or spiritual traditions. The concept of why fasting attracts God and the specific things to avoid during a fast can vary across different religious and spiritual traditions. Here are 2 general principles that are often emphasized in various beliefs: maintaining a pure heart and intention. Many religious traditions emphasize the importance of having a pure and sincere heart while fasting. The intention behind the fast matters, and it should be driven by a genuine desire for spiritual growth, purification, and closeness to the divine. Engaging in negative thoughts, harboring ill intentions, or using the fast for personal gain or recognition may be seen as counterproductive. The focus is on cultivating a genuine and humble spirit during the fasting period. Avoiding hypocrisy and insincerity. Hypocrisy, or insincerity in one's religious practices, is often discouraged during fasting. This includes putting on a false appearance of piety for others while not genuinely committing to the spiritual aspects of the fast. The idea is to align one's outward actions with inner sincerity and authenticity. This principle is often rooted in the belief that God values sincerity and true devotion over outward displays of religious observance. In Christianity, fasting is often seen as a way to draw closer to God through self-discipline, humility, and focused prayer. While the Bible does not explicitly provide a list of things not to do during a fast, it does offer principles and guidance that are commonly understood within Christian fasting practices. Here are 2 general concepts to keep in mind when fasting based on biblical teachings. Maintain humility and sincerity. In the Christian tradition, fasting is not meant to be a show of self-righteousness or a way to gain public approval. Jesus emphasized the importance of sincerity and humility in fasting in Matthew chapter 6 verses 16 to 18. New International Version. When you fast, do not look somber as the hypocrites do, for they disfigure their faces to show others they are fasting. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward. But when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so that it will not be obvious to others that you are fasting, but only to your Father, who is unseen, and your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. The emphasis here is on maintaining an inward focus on personal repentance, prayer, and spiritual growth rather than seeking external recognition. Avoid hypocrisy and unrighteousness. Fasting is closely linked with righteous living in the Bible. Isaiah chapter 58 verses 3 to 7, New International Version, highlights that true fasting goes beyond abstaining from food. It involves addressing social justice and compassionate actions. Is not this the kind of fasting I have chosen? To loose the chains of injustice and untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free and break every yoke? Is it not to share your food with the hungry and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter, when you see the naked, to clothe them, and not to turn away from your own flesh and blood? Therefore, during a fast, Christians are encouraged to avoid hypocrisy, addressing not only personal sins but also actively engaging in acts of compassion and justice. Fasting, as depicted in the Bible, is a spiritual practice that goes beyond the mere abstention from food. It is a means of seeking a deeper connection with God, expressing repentance, and cultivating a spirit of humility and righteousness. While the Bible does not explicitly state why fasting attracts God, it provides principles and teachings that guide believers on the appropriate attitudes and behaviors during a fast. In this extensive exploration, we will delve into the biblical perspective on fasting, discussing its purpose, significance, and the actions to avoid during this spiritual discipline. The purpose of fasting in the Bible, **1. Seeking God with a humble heart. Fasting in the Bible is often linked to humility and a contrite heart. In the teachings of Jesus in Matthew chapter 6 verses 16 to 18, believers are encouraged to fast without drawing attention to themselves. When you fast, do not look somber as the hypocrites do, for they disfigure their faces to show others they are fasting. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward. But when you fast, put oil on your head and wash your face, so that it will not be obvious to others that you are fasting, but only to your Father, who is unseen, and your Father, who sees what is done in secret, will reward you. This emphasizes the private and sincere nature of fasting as a personal act of devotion. Seeking God in a humble and unpretentious manner. **2. Purification and repentance. Fasting is also associated with purification and repentance in the Bible. The act of abstaining from physical nourishment symbolizes a turning away from sinful behaviors and a commitment to righteous living. In Joel chapter 2 verses 12 to 13, New International Version, the prophet Joel calls for a fast as a sign of repentance. Even now, declares the Lord, return to me with all your heart. With fasting and weeping and mourning. Rend your heart and not your garments. Return to the Lord your God, for he is gracious and compassionate, slow to anger and abounding in love. And he relents from sending calamity. Fasting becomes a spiritual tool for self-examination and repentance, inviting believers to turn their hearts back to God in sincerity. Spiritual discipline and dependency on God. Fasting is a spiritual discipline that cultivates dependence on God. By voluntarily denying oneself food, believers express their reliance on God for sustenance and guidance. In Matthew chapter 4 verse 4, New International Version, Jesus declares, "Man shall not live on bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God." Fasting serves as a reminder that spiritual nourishment is essential for a thriving relationship with God. Actions to avoid during a fast, **1. Hypocrisy and seeking recognition. One significant caution in the Bible regarding fasting is the avoidance of hypocrisy and the desire for public recognition. Jesus, in his teachings in Matthew chapter 6 verses 16 to 18, warns against performing acts of righteousness, including fasting, to be seen by others. When you fast, do not look somber as the hypocrites do, for they disfigure their faces to show others they are fasting. Truly I tell you, they have received their reward. Fasting should not be a display for self-glory. Instead, it is a personal and humble expression of devotion to God. **2. Neglecting justice and compassion. The Bible associates fasting with ethical living and compassionate actions. In Isaiah chapter 58 verses 3 to 7, the Lord rebukes a form of fasting that neglects social justice and compassion. Is not this the kind of fasting I have chosen? To loose the chains of injustice and untie the cords of the yoke. To set the oppressed free and break every yoke? Is it not to share your food with the hungry and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter, when you see the naked, to clothe them? And not to turn away from your own flesh and blood? True fasting involves not only abstaining from food but actively engaging in acts of kindness, justice, and generosity. Conclusion. In conclusion, the biblical perspective on fasting reveals it as a profound spiritual practice with the potential to draw believers closer to God. Fasting is not merely a ritualistic act but a means of expressing humility, seeking God with sincerity, and engaging in acts of justice and compassion. The Bible provides valuable insights into the purpose of fasting and offers cautionary guidance on avoiding hypocrisy and neglecting ethical responsibilities during this spiritual discipline. Believers are encouraged to approach fasting with a genuine and contrite heart, recognizing it as a tool for self-examination, repentance, and dependency on God. By maintaining humility, avoiding the desire for public recognition, and actively pursuing justice and compassion, individuals can align their fasting practices with the biblical principles that emphasize the transformative power of this spiritual discipline. Please subscribe my YouTube channel. I hope you like this video. Thank you.